Grand dawning, great rising, Cleveland, Ohio, and the rest of planet Earth. Welcome to another edition of 360 Info Network brought to you by the Cleveland Observer, where their mantra is to inform, to educate, and to inspire. We're very pleased to have our partnership with the Cleveland Observer, and we're excited about the news and information that we will be bringing you through that channel. We have a few announcements that we are going to make, and we have a great show lined up for you today. As I would always do, I'd like to introduce you to the founder and the creator of 360 Info Network. His name is Hamtonio. Brother Hamtonio.
Greetings, everyone. Hope everyone made it through all the snow that we had the other day. But yeah, again, we are in Cleveland, and we know that. We thank you for joining us and on this journey. And that's why I call it the journey with Hamtonio. This is a journey. This is a mission that is embedded in us to move forward and to learn things and knowing who we are, and what we should be doing as a people. So we got a great show for you today, and thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to talk about a little history with Cleveland, and then getting into some other things that I think is very, very interesting.
All right. With that, I'd like to make just a couple of announcements. Coming up on the 24th of January, which is this coming Saturday, we have Brother Am Tahuti Kamau, and he is a chief priest in the Asara Set Society, the Philadelphia HESP. He's going to be doing a workshop, a Kemetic meditation workshop. I had the pleasure of interviewing him a few days ago, and you can go to my YouTube channel to witness that interview. But long story short, he will be here on Saturday doing a Kemetic meditation workshop between 4 and 7 p.m. And I have to tell you, the dialogue that we had was phenomenal. If you don't know anything about meditation, this is something that you will definitely want to take in. It's going to happen from 4 to 7 p.m., and it is absolutely free. And you can also get a Kemetic astrology reading at this particular event. So next Saturday, 4 p.m., 12726 Larchmere Boulevard. Come through, and we will be giving you a flyer and more information about that workshop as the show progresses. With that, I'm going to bring back Brother Hamtonio to introduce our guest. He is Bishop Philip K. Jones, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation. Brother Hamtonio?
Yes, I happened to be at his church, and we did a Kwanzaa, and he got up and talked about some of the history of Cleveland and Cleveland Heights, and I thought it was very interesting. He talked about how he inquired the church, and then we got into something a little deeper that's really on my subject matter that I thought was very interesting, and I was very surprised about his knowledge into some of the African spirituality and things like that. So I said, I got to have you on my show to talk about it. And here we are. And I wanted to maybe give them towards the end of the month, but closer to Black History Month. But again, this is like a pre-history program. So with that, we're going to welcome our good brother, and look like he's on mute. Make sure you take your phone off mute, Brother Bishop Philip Jones. There you go. Can you hear me good now?
Yes, I hear you very well.
All right, my brother. All right. I see you guys could get that in landscape, but that's okay. We're going to move forward with that.
All right.
All right. Okay, my good brother, again, it was a pleasure. I was all ears when you started talking about the history of Cleveland and its connection to the Underground Railroad and your church. Could you reintroduce yourself and tell us how long you've been pastoring and where you're pastoring at? And so then we can move forward.
Yes, my name is Bishop Philip Jones, and I'm the pastor of the United Temple Church, the Tabernacle, 14284 Superior Road in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And our church is 25 years old, but we've been at that location there in Cleveland Heights for the past 5 years. And the Lord has done a wonderful work and has tremendously blessed us. But I'm grateful for the history, the church which we were blessed with beyond measure. is also a listed historical landmark.
Mm-hmm.
It is the oldest building structure that is built in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, there on Superior Avenue, 1 block south of Mayfield.
Mm.
And as we begin to search into the history and talk with the former bishop, which was over the 3rd Episcopal District of the AME Church, he gave me the history on the whole building. It was the first building erected in Cleveland Heights. As some have driven up Superior, you find a block away from the church, a Parsons home. The builder of the church was the second facility. And when you get to Euclid Heights, you find the old schoolhouse, which is the third facility, third oldest building. At that time, Cleveland Heights, all of Cleveland Heights was known as Turkey Ridge. And as some of you may remember, there was a tavern that was on Coventry, in Coventry Village, that was known as the Turkey Ridge. Well, that area of Coventry was considered in that time the area of the bars and brothels, while up in the hills where our church is located, that was the religious center of Turkey Ridge. And it became one of the stops of the Underground Railroad. And the history that they explained to me, which you can also pull up online, and you pull it up online under Our Redeemer AME Church. You can pull that history up there and many other places. As slaves began to get away from the South, and they crossed the Ohio River coming into Ohio, they had the task of trying to make it further north, and they would by foot. It is amazing how they by foot would make it from the, I believe that's Marietta, Ohio area, at the foot of 77 in Ohio. They would make it to present day Canton area, where there was a water gorge where they could rest and drink. And from the Canton area, they had to make it to present day Akron area, where there was a feeding center where they could rest, be fed. From there, they had to make it into what we know as the Metro Park system there in Brecksville, where there is another water gorge. And after resting and feeding, from that point, they had to make it over to the Garfield, present day Garfield area, right at Garfield and 93rd. Underneath that bridge, to this day, you'll find another water gorge.
Yes, yes. I've seen that one.
Yes, that was there. From there, they had to make it to the Shaker Lakes area, where there were Parsons and Quakers there that would sustain them, let them rest. Then they made it to where our present day church building is. For across the street from the church, there was another natural spring that's there. They would drink from the spring. And once the sun went down, they were taken into the church building and allowed to rest in the bell tower, all the way in the top of the church. And there in the church, you could see the area of the very small door on our second floor that goes into the bell tower. There are markings and carvings that are inside the church on the very rafters there inside of the water tower. There they were able to rest. And it is so amazing that in our present day bell tower, there is a glass windows around it, which are blue. And the people of that time, due to there being no electricity, they would light candles and put mirrors around them to amplify the light. And those slaves knew wherever they saw a blue light at night, that was a safe place for them that they could rest.
Mm-hmm.
After they rested in the building there where we presently have our services, they had to make it down Mayfield and into what is present day Lakeview Cemetery, where if you ride in there, you'll find a large dam and water gorge that is there in the cemetery. From that point, they had to make one of the most dangerous parts of their journey, which was along what they called at that time Bloody Row, which is today modern day Wade Park Avenue. If you go into old maps of the city, you'll find that Wade Park was once a river. And if you ride in the Wade Park area today, you'll see many of the homes going through that area all lean toward the north. The top of the homes, they lean toward the north, because to this day, the ground is yet unstable in that area. If those slaves made it through Bloody Row, they made it to what is present day Whiskey Island, where they were put inside of cargo boxes and were shipped across to the Canadian border. And that's basically the history of the pattern that they used and the blessedness of them being able to rest in the building that we now pastor.
Wow. Wow. You know, like I say, when you were speaking about this, you know, I was just so intrigued about that particular information. And you call, as far as Wade Park Street is concerned, you said it was a river there.
Yes.
I mean, a little spring there. And then they filled, you said they kind of backfilled it and then built the houses on top, and you called it Bloody Row.
Bloody Row.
And that was the area, I think, when I questioned you about that it was so dangerous because they can get captured on in that particular area. Is that why they called it Bloody Row?
They could easily get captured because there were few trees.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Going along there. Most of the trees had already been destroyed for future planning of city.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very dangerous, as you know, at that time, slave catchers
mm-hmm.
still could capture them and take them right back to the South.
Yeah, that's right, because laws was passed at that time to giving them the right to come back up north and come take them at that point.
That is correct.
Mm. You know, it's interesting, you know, that history coming up to Ohio and that and the Quakers, what the role that the Quakers played in that, you know, so they were some of the first settlers of Cleveland Heights.
Yes, they were. They, along with what was considered Shakers at that time. What Shakers were, Quakers and Shakers, their belief was pretty much the same, but Shakers had a way they felt of experiencing the spirit, and they shook. And that was really a nickname that was given to an offshoot religion of Quakers.
Wow. Okay. And this is where we get Shaker Heights from, you think, or what?
That's where the Shaker Heights Shaker Lakes, all of that area. That's where that all originated.
Wow. And I just think it's probably it's on me that I really haven't looked at the city and looked at that history like that, and all this being new to me at this particular time, but I just found it very, very intriguing to know the history. And it seemed like the Quakers, the Shakers, they always was empathetic to the whole slavery thing. And we must understand, if it wasn't for people like the Quaker participating in this Underground Railroad piece, because it had to be strategically planned. I mean, from one point to the next. Could you imagine, the walking in the woods? Just imagine walking from Canton to Cleveland. I can't even imagine that. And you're looking at all the shrubbery, the trees, the bushes, and things of that nature, and you're scared, you're worried, and seeing if they're on your trail and things like that. I can't even imagine that, Doug. What do you say on that, Bishop?
Well, I'm one, when I talk with especially many of our younger men at the church, and when we get into conversations of slavery, they are quick to say what they would not have done.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would not. There's no way I would have went through what they went through. And I tried to tell them, you would have endured the same thing they did.
Mm-hmm.
In order to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
They were willing to go that distance on foot.
Wow.
Because they sought to be free.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask all of the young men today, most of you, you're not willing to walk from your home downtown.
Ain't no doubt about that. Probably a lot of folks would have just been dead or still in captivity at this particular point if they had to walk from here to Canton, for freedom or something. Hey man, just go ahead on. That may be why Harriet Tubman had to take a gun to some of them to give them the move.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you but your church, Bishop, the church is historical. You took me outside and we looked up at these symbols, the shields or something that's on the top of the bell tower there. Could you explain that a little bit? How the slaves were able to recognize that too as well?
Yes. As I said earlier, in the bell tower, it would be lit with candles and the blue light would come out.
Mm.
But at the same time, they also had to be careful of other places that were decoys.
Okay.
That many times, many of them would walk into places unknowing that it was a setup.
Mm-hmm.
And on the top of the building, the Quakers did have, I felt they were really led by God in some of the symbols they used. On the bell tower, you will see a shield, and it's all the way around the top of the bell towers. And the same shield would be on safe houses on those grounds somewhere. And the shield was upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than right side up. The point of the shield was not pointed down, it was pointed up. That let you know that was definitely a safe house.
Mm-hmm.
But if the shield was in the upright position, they were to keep moving and not try to go into that place.
Bishop, was there any indication of how long the slaves would stay there before their journey, and what is the capacity, as far as the church is concerned, on holding how many number of slaves in that compartment?
That bell tower, the number of times I've been up, I would say it could hold maybe up to 10 to 12 or so people.
Mm-hmm.
At a time, because they could not move in very large numbers.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be few
Mm-hmm.
in their movement.
Mm-hmm.
And
How long would you think they stay there?
I would imagine, now I cannot say this is historical fact. I would imagine they would stay in a place for a few days.
Mm-hmm. Keep it moving.
One to rest the body, to feed themselves, for them to be fed, and for someone to go ahead of them, most likely Caucasian,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure the way to the next stop was pretty much clear. So I believe they would stay there maybe a couple of days and rest.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I mean, who's to know? I don't know if there's any record. You know, Harriet herself might have came through there one time, or came through Ohio, parts of it, huh?
We never know.
Yeah.
With as many journeys as she made.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you know, she could have very well came through Cleveland and been around there. Well, Pastor, too, I found the church so interesting. Before we move on to you could you talk about the blessing of the church and how you acquired the church? Not exactly how you acquired which paper, but how lucky you guys came across and getting and inquiring the church.
Yes, I was a musician. I'm also a 40-year organist and pianist, and I met Bishop McKinley Young. He was the 3rd Episcopal District Bishop in the AME Church, and I was presently serving as musician for St. James AME Church there on Euclid Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met the gentleman. He was intrigued by my music. And after a few years, I left Cleveland and I went for a very short time to West Palm Beach, Florida. And only to realize that I was not really following the perfect will of God, going there, wanting to do another ministry there. And God revealed to me to come back home. I came home, and at that time, I didn't have a church building when I got back, but I heard the Lord speak to me and say, continue what I started in you. And maybe a month went past, and I was called to play for a banquet in Youngstown, Ohio. And it was a banquet for Bishop Young, and he greeted me so graciously. He said, "It's good to see you." He said, "Are you back in your church?" I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Well, where are you? Where do you have a church?" I said, "Presently, I don't have one." And he said to me, "You need a church." And he sent me to our present location. He told me, "Go and look at it." And they had closed it 4 years before. And I went there and went in, and it was much work to do. But I was able, thank the Lord, to see beyond what our other parishioners saw. It was a lot of work, and I thank the Lord that I had the ability to do it. And he told me, he gave me an amount very, very, very minuscule. And he said, "You need that church. I want you to have it." And he told me the price, and I told him, "Bishop, I don't have that kind of money." He said, "Yes, you do." I said, "Bishop, no, I don't." He said, "Oh, you of little faith. Yes, you do." And said to me, "Pay the title change and the legal fee, and it's yours."
Oh my goodness.
Only to find out the building was worth over $3 million.
Man, stop playing.
So it was a total blessing. Total blessing that the Lord gave to us.
Wow. Bishop, that kind of historical, site. Yeah, I know you was talking about doing a little work to the outside. That doing work to anything is a continuing process for sure. You're gonna always need things and have some things to do. But while I'm here in the States, I'm just because of the historical value of it too, and some other things that we're going to get into shortly. I'm one to halfway because I got so much to do. But if you got some things going on, as far as some fundraisers to try to help restore the facility or something, please let me know, and so I can see what I can do to help you in restoring the church and getting it and keeping that landmark together like that. Because I think that's something that we should take pride in. And by you having that church, I think it was real heaven and God sent as well.
Yes.
So, please
I want to thank you.
Huh?
I want to thank you for saying that. I know there are ways to access some funds
Mm-hmm.
from the government, what have you. But I'm one that believes where the Lord guides, he provides.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not dependent on subsidies. I'm not dependent on what the government does. And I believe the Lord will pay for everything that needs to be done.
Well, like some of the areas that we're talking about now, as far as Cleveland is concerned, like the Cultural Gardens, the African History Museum, the people is going to have to invest into those particular things, because where we at right now as a society where they're trying to cover up stuff, take away history books, and we might have to go back to some of the oral traditions of passing things down to our kids, because looking at this thing 40, 30, 40, 50 years from now, a lot of this stuff is going to be wiped out of history. The way we're going right now, on the course that we are right now, the trajectory that we are, so hopefully, things like this will not be out of the view of the public and knowledge of the public, but we still have to safeguard our history in those things. And I'm surprised too that there hasn't been a campaign, or maybe people don't know the value and the history of this of the building. But we should be just like those particular things with the Cultural Gardens and the museum. We should be rallying around those particular things for our children, because at that point we all mature here. All three of us is mature here. And it comes to a point in time where you have to start thinking about the prodigy, the people that comes after you. How are you setting them up? How are you setting them up for them to keep the customs, the rituals, and the things going on? And that's where we're going to go with this now, because I think our audience is going to be very intrigued to know about your knowledge base about African spirituality and things of that nature. And that's where we're going to go after we get to our break. Vince, you ready for our break before we go in?
Indeed, I am.
Okay, my brother, go ahead.
This is 360 Info Network on AM 1490 WERE. Our program is sponsored by, the title sponsor is the Cleveland Observer newspaper, and we are extremely happy to have them aboard as our title sponsor. We're going to step away for just a moment, and we will be right back. If you're just joining us, our guest is Bishop Philip Jones. He is the pastor of United Temple Tabernacle Church there in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And as you can hear, or perhaps maybe you can see if you're watching us online, it is a historical place. It was instrumental in bringing folks to freedom as they were traveling and navigating the course from down south to the so-called promised land for some, and that would be Canada. We'll be right back in just a few moments with more 360 Info Network.
Cleveland has stories worth telling and voices that deserve to be heard. That's why the Cleveland Observer is proud to sponsor 360 Info Network with Vince Robinson and Antonio on AM 1490 WERE, where truth, culture, and conversation come together. Each week, host Vince Robinson and Antonio open the door to powerful discussions, from the arts and community history to the issues shaping our neighborhoods today. And the Cleveland Observer is right there with them, shining a light on the people and movements building a stronger Cleveland. Tune in to 360 Info Network and visit CLEobserver.com to read, watch, and share more stories that inform, inspire, and unite our community. Because together, we are Cleveland's voice.
Again, the Cleveland Observer, to inspire, to educate, and to inform. And again, we're very happy to have them as our title sponsor. If you're just joining us, this is 360 Info Network right here on AM 1490 WERE. We're having a great conversation with Bishop Philip Jones, who is the pastor of United Temple Tabernacle Church. It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful, but it's all good. And I just listening to the conversation, Bishop, I am aware of the fact that there is something called the Cleveland Restoration Society, and they have placed markers at churches, at least one church over there on East 105th Street. There's also a marker at the Cozad Bates House over there at Mayfield and John Malvin Drive. So I'm just wondering if there might be a possibility that perhaps your church could get a marker, because it absolutely deserves it. But I'm going to hand the ball back to Brother Antonio. I know he has some other things that he wants to discuss with you. So Brother Antonio.
All right. Well, I thought, what else I thought was interesting, because myself personally, I'm speaking personally now, you know, I don't have a church home because I'm still seeking spirituality and trying to find out who I am and what our ancestors did, you know, before we was brought over here in the Atlantic slave trade. So I'm still searching and seeking. And so, Pastor, we had this Kwanzaa going on, and, you know, some of his relatives, you know, they set up an altar in the church, you know. So I'm like, that's interesting that a pastor would be open, you know, like that, to have an altar, an African altar with ancestors and stuff. And then he said, I'm going to leave that altar up. It's going to stay up, you know. And he talked briefly about some of the pictures and stuff on the altar that he knew and things of that nature. So I asked him a question, and he said something in reference to some of the Yoruba spirituality. I said, well, Pastor, I said, you know something about that? And then he began to talk to me about his knowledge of African spirituality. So, Bishop Jones, could you lead us into how you got connected to that, and maybe some of the things too that as a church you had to go through in reference to other churches, in reference to that belief system?
I'm really glad to have this conversation because there was, if I could first say this, I thank God for my life, my training, for my ancestors. And I'm not only speaking of my distant ancestors, but the parents that God blessed me to come from. I thank God that I am United Temple Church is a spiritual church. It's not the typical church you would see, Baptist, Methodist, what have you, and I have no issue with anyone with whatever denomination they want to label themselves as. But I grew up all my life as a part of the spiritual church, and many people had the misconception that if they heard the word spiritual, or if they saw a candle burn or if they smelled incense burning, they would label you as being out of the covenant, that you're into some kind of negative witchcraft, or all these very derogatory names that they used to give them. But that was from their own ignorance, because one, a spiritual person is not known by what they burn, what they light, what they chant, what they say. A spiritual person is a person that understands their connection with God and understand their connection with nature, which is really and truthfully one and the same.
Come on now. Come on now.
Religion, or shall I even go on to say Western religion, has taught men not to use the very thing and the very tool that God gave him to master life, which was his mind. They want to gear people to simply biblical stories. And in most cases, don't want people to question the biblical story or the legitimacy of various biblical stories. Much of what we call or refer to as many people's religion is what was set up, truthfully, by the Catholic Church. And you even have people today that are still saying, and sad to say, even in some of the Black churches, they are still reciting and saying creeds that they believe in the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Well, I thank God I learned from my studies there was nothing holy about it. I am a spiritual individual, and I understand where God lives, that God does not live in the sun, moon, and stars. He's not beyond this world, that God lives in us. And even biblically, there's many scriptures that even speak of, which I think some of them King James made the mistake and forgot to edit out. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwelleth in you, not outside of you. Even our elder brother and way shower, Jesus the Christ, tried his best to teach, even concerning him. He said, I and my Father are one. I in you, you in me, I in my Father, and my Father in me. So I cannot understand how people can look to a God distant from them, when the real truth is that presence and power of God lives within every man and is accessible. Every man can access the presence, the power, the very voice of God. So many are still waiting to hear through a natural ear a voice coming out of the heavens. But I'm glad I know that God does not speak with lips, because he does not possess lips. God is a spirit, spirit, and spirit speaks through thought. Our people, especially, must come into the habit of using their mind. And when I say mind, I'm not just talking about brain. but mind, that one place where we are connected with God. I was raised spiritual. I was one of the youngest ones in the classes that were taught in my church, the classes of metaphysics. I was one of the youngest ones. I began that journey about 14, and I stayed right there and learned. And I was always inquisitive. And as our knowledges, the family began to share, constantly share our African connection concerning our true African religion, the values that came from our homeland. And I began to study, and everything they people tried to label as wrong, I see that no, they're misguided to call it wrong. They want you to think your cultural beliefs are wrong so that you'll stay mentally under this system that will keep you bound. To go a little farther, I'm not ashamed to say, and I openly say this before the world, I'm one of the sons of Obatala. I don't hide that. I don't hide what I'm into. I don't hide from anyone. One of the things I hate is hypocrisy. Showing one face when the reality of you is something altogether different. I'm not ashamed to tell the world what I am, what I believe, what I do. If you have a problem with it, you'll get over it, or you'll compare. But our people, as Black people, has to be willing to finally investigate yourself. Go within. Find out who you are. If I can quickly say this, there was an very old story that was once told, and hear the way I'm going to say this, that there was once a conference of the gods, plural, and that the gods met and said, we have to do something concerning the divinity of man. Man, after a flood, came up with the knowledge to build a tower into the heavens, that it could never be flooded again. At the way man's mind is moving, we have to place his divinity someplace. So one God said, place it upon a mountain. And another said, one day man will scale the mountain. Well, place it at the depth of the, let's hide it at the depths of the sea. Another said, one day man will go deep beyond the very fathoms and would find it. Another said, let's move it out into space. And another said, one day man will go into space, so he would find it there. So then the enemy of the soul spoke and said, why not hide it within him? If you hide it within him, he'll spend his life looking everywhere else but within. And it's a fictional story, but it has such a real implication.
Yes, I like that.
Greatness, power, truth, royalty, and very divinity lies in every one of us. But long as we look to the outside,
come on,
to try to find the answer, how to really better ourselves, you'll never find it.
It's real quick. I know Vince is biting on the bit over there.
No, go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. And I quote those things here. John's 10s and 30 and 34, when Jesus said that ye are gods. Isn't it not written in your law that ye are gods? Psalms 82 tell you that ye are gods. When you go, I don't know if it's Deuteronomy or Exodus. I can't remember which one it was, but it talks about the tabernacle and how the tabernacle was built. And it talked about the court roundabout, the holy place, and the most holy place. I did a presentation on that. And we talked about the similarities, of the tabernacle being built is the human body. And,
Yeah.
and a representation of that, they went to the holies of holies, and the two cherubims facing one another is the right and the left side of your brain. That pineal gland, when you go back to the Genesis, when he said, "For I've seen God face to face, and my life is preserved," and he called the name of the place where he's seen God. Pineal is the pineal gland that rests in between those two cherubims who face one another, and this was the same construction of the church. So you are the church. We say those things, greater he is in you than in the world, God don't dwell in temples made by hand. They telling you this right in front of you, and we still keep looking outward when we want to make that connection with God. Your thoughts, Pastor?
Yes, I'm in a church. Yes, there are times I wear a collar. And I do that for a reason.
Come on now.
Paul said, I become all things to all men that I might win one. As a result of my upbringing, my father, the Reverend Leon Lawrence, was a very successful pastor, Baptist pastor, mind you, here in Cleveland. My mother, Clementine Jones, was a great musician here in this city. All of her life, she was the chief musician at the Caramoo House for every play that came to Cleveland. My father being a Baptist and I learning to play as my mother opened the door for me to be accepted in Baptist churches. My musical ability opened doors for me to be accepted in Methodist circles, where normally a person of the spiritual church or of your belief would no way be allowed into those pulpits. God blessed me through my heritage to wind up in those same pulpits. And I was able to go into those pulpits, not beating anyone up, but taking the message of truth. John 8:32, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The truth of what? The truth of you, of who you are, the truth of who you are connected to, who you are made by, and the truth, you and I are nothing more than a chip off of the block. We're all a chip off of that God block, if I could refer to it as that. Everything that is in God is in you. When we look, as you were speaking of the cherubims and the pineal gland, when you were, the various points that you began to speak of was also describing the tree of life. And many other religions want to claim that. But come on, let's be honest. That came out of Kemet.
Uh-oh, watch out there.
That's truths that came out of Kemet. Everything that you want to call so-called modern or traditional religion, the root of it came out of Kemet.
And folks, you don't know Kemet, that's Egypt. We got to let folks know we're talking about Egypt now. Go ahead.
Came out of Egypt. Even down to the story, the truth or story of Christ, his mother, Mary, all of that came out of Egypt. All of the knowledge of the Greek philosophers came out of Egypt, our heritage. So I am pro learning. I believe we are to study everything we can. And that's why I studied the religions the way I did, so that I could really understand where everybody comes from. So that I would know how to come among them, seem as if I am speaking their language, and they be willing to listen to what I say. Because I know, and my firm belief has always been this: no matter what the belief a person has, if they take 15 minutes and listen to me, I believe they'll like what they hear about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can build a person up in their belief of themselves, they will change their life. Even in the Christian denomination, I tried to tell them, they sing a song, Jesus paid it all. I said, well, if you want to believe that, that's fine. But that was done on a soul level. But you have responsibility for that third dimension of your being, which is your mind, your body, and your affairs. He didn't pay for your liver. If you make a decision to drink liquor all your life and then you have cirrhosis of the liver, he didn't pay for that. You did.
You know what? You struck a nerve right there, Bishop. It's something that I was writing about. Vince, you could go, come in too, Vince. That, a lot of times when we preach at somebody's funeral, I used to say all the time, and we talking about Sister Johnson leaving here and God decided to take her. Well, Sister Johnson made some bad choices. Her liver is shot, or her arteries are clogged because she defiled the temple. Was that God that took her, or Sister Johnson was ignorant about her temple and it didn't treat her temple right?
I know for a fact everyone comes before they are embodied. There is, if I could say it this way, there's a deal that is made with the soul and the creator. This is what I want to do and what I want you to accomplish. And I'm going to give you so many years to accomplish this.
Come on.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that soul has the right to accept or reject. Now, I don't want to do that, because God does not force his will upon anything. We are free moral agents. God give us the option of choice. Yes, I will go and I will do this thing. All right. Each person has so much time to accomplish that which he has designed you for. We make the mistake of hastening departure by the choices we make within our mind and body. We alter the time, not that of God. God is not a murderer. God is not sitting up with a book writing down everything every time you stump your toe or doing anything wrong. No, that's not the God. That's not the God that I serve. This God that many people serve really, to me, need counseling. That God needs counseling. That God they talk about is bipolar. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you.
And then,
but if you don't do this, I'm going to burn you in hell forever, where there will be gnashing of teeth. No, I don't want any parts. I got rid of that angry God.
Yeah, a Bishop, sexist and everything. You know what I mean? Get mad, all kind of manly traits. Vince, take us home now.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by the conversation, and I can understand why Brother Antonio was so excited about making the connection, because many of the things that you're talking about are things that we bring up on the show all the time. And I do have some questions, and I think they might be considered leading questions just based on what you know, and the things that people need to understand that they're not seeing in terms of Christianity, in terms of religion. When you said Obatala, I'm like, okay, this brother knows. When
Yeah,
you said
right.
Kemet, I'm like, okay, he really knows. So we're going to talk about Asar, Aset, and Heru in our next hour. And I'm also going to talk about the importance of understanding where all this religion comes from, because it was born in Kemet. So we'll explore that as well. I'd like to say that we have quite a few folks who are watching us on YouTube and Facebook right now. We're happy to have you with us. If you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. You can go to The Journey with Antonio and you can join him, subscribe to his channel. You can also go to my YouTube channel, which is Vince Robinson. And you can also think about going to United Temple Tabernacle Church, where you can get some of this knowledge. So we're definitely going to put the phone number and the contact information for folks so that they know that they can come to church tomorrow and get some real knowledge and some real wisdom. So we commend you on that. Also, would like to take another opportunity to mention that we're going to have a Kemetic meditation workshop at Larchmere Arts on next Saturday at 4 p.m. So you will come and you will be able to learn some of the things that we are talking about today, but you will also be able to learn about how to use meditation as an effective tool to enhance the quality of your life and wake up that light that lives within you, that is the light of God. We'll go ahead and say that. We have quite a few things that we have coming up. We're going to be bringing you some other guests who will give you knowledge about meditation, astrology, religion, spirituality, and all those things, because 360 Info Network is a resource for knowledge. As I said before, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe on our various channels, and that will enable us to bring you more content just as we are doing right now. Also, just want to give a shout out to our engineer, Tone Harley. He's been with us for a number of years. It's been so many that I can't remember, but it is because of our connection with him and his connection with us that we're able to bring this broadcast to you on Saturday. So big ups to Tone Harley in the studio. And most of all, we'd like to thank you for listening and watching us. Don't forget YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can check out 360 Information Network. With all that said, we just want to remind you to know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and make today your absolute best day. Peace, y'all.
Peace, peace, peace.
All right. We are exclusively on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn right now. We are with Bishop Philip Jones. He is the pastor of United Temple Tabernacle, a very historic church. And that area actually has some very historical implications. Bishop, I have been involved in a couple of different programs. There is actually some type of a virtual network where you can go different places on a trail, the Civil Rights Trail, and you can listen to recordings in different places. And in one of those locations, I actually did the voiceover for William Wells Brown, who was a Black abolitionist. And I have also been involved in a couple of presentations of a two-person play at Cozad Bates that involved John Malvin. And of course, we did the same presentation during Station Hope at that church over there on the west side, which has been acknowledged as a station on the Underground Railroad. So great history here. And it's history that for the most part, those of us who live here, we don't know.
I'm guilty of some of it. I can say I'm guilty of some.
Yeah, it's really tragic, that we don't know who John Malvin was. We don't know who William Wells Brown was. We don't know these things. We have an entire population of students in our municipal school district who don't even know who Carl Stokes and Louis Stokes were. So when you want to talk about history and the things that have been left out, there has been so much that has been left out. But the reason for that is to keep us away from the knowledge of who we are. So you mentioned Jesus, the way shower, and which is really an important distinction to make, because when we talk about the Bible, there are books that were strategically left out. So when we talk about, the book that Mary was responsible for, the book that Thomas was responsible for, the message that both of them had was Jesus, as I understand it, wasn't saying follow me. He was saying be me. He was saying do what I have done. The scriptures say the things that I do, greater things shall ye do. And then you mentioned gods, and you said it in a plural sense. When you talk about Kemet, the understanding that we had that came out of Kemet was that all men, and that includes women, but all men are divine beings.
Yes, sir.
And so when you talk about God being within you, that doesn't externalize God, that internalizes God. And then you understand your relationship with God, so you're not afraid to speak of yourself in that manner. But it's all about the way that you live your life that enables you to exist as a God. If you're stuck in the human side and you're not giving those divine attributes, then no, that's not who you are, at least in that moment. But when you have a consciousness about it, and you can live your life and make deliberate choices, for instance, not drinking that alcohol, not destroying your liver, not taking in the things that are detrimental to you, that prevent you from living as a divine being. You talk about Kemet, you talk about the 42 declarations of freedom from sin, and the fact that we all live through those every day. It's not just about 10 commandments that they flipped around. It's about living and understanding all 42 so that you can say those every day with conviction. Not have I done this, not have I done that. That's when you know that you're living a divine life. So if you could, if you're aware, and I'm pretty sure that you are, could you talk about the relationship between the Trinity of Asar, Aset, and Heru, as opposed to the Christian Trinity that we are aware of, and that has taken the divine feminine out of what we perceive as God and replaced it with something else to take us away from remembering who we are?
I will put it in, my God, to explain that would, oh my God, it would take us shows. But I want to give an explanation for that I teach, which I feel is the simplest way to explain the Trinity. At the Tabernacle, we teach the Trinity as that which you would refer to as God the Father, as the mind of God. God the Son, we teach as the power of God. And that we teach, as you would say, the Holy Spirit is the movement of God, the mind, the power, the movement of this one indwelling God. The Egyptian teachings, the Ethiopian teachings, even down to what they want to call Christian teachings, is all talking about the same thing. The very same thing. And people are so caught up on names.
Okay.
that they miss truth. The thing with Jesus, the man, as I try to tell people, the body is gone. The man is not here. What we are to follow is principle.
Come on now. Mm-hmm.
If you live by my words, if you live according to the principle, you shall have, as they would say, I go away to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you may be also. This is speaking of a spiritual level and not talking about a place in the sky, walking around with gold slippers on gold streets, drinking sweet milk and honey. I pray they're not lactose intolerant. But I understand that heaven, and even this thing you want to call hell, it's a state of mind, present condition.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this Trinity was rooted in Egypt. Our Egyptian brothers, and I'll even hold this up. What do I teach by? I don't just teach with the King James Version. I teach with this.
Oh, okay.
The Ethiopian Bible.
Just the Ethiopian Bible. We got to open up our understanding that God is not so narrow-minded to lock himself in only 66 books.
Come on now.
That's crazy. And anyone is a fool that would believe everything. Even there is reference in the book of Luke that said, this is the, in the book of John that said, this is the account of Jesus Christ. And there were many, 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 many more miracles worked by Jesus Christ that could not even be contained within a book. If so, it would be the largest book or the greatest book there could ever be. The knowledges of Kemet, much of that. We thank God for all of the knowledges that we have gained so far.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much more yet to even learn that we have not even tapped into.
That's right.
We've got to tap into what is referred to as the Akashic Records. That level where the knowledge of everything that has ever been, is now, and ever will be. That's what we want to tap into. I'm so glad to hear of the various classes that, and I hope I'm not going too far, but
no, come on,
the
Doc.
various classes, and I'm going to make it my business to come next Saturday to that meditation. I'm a definite, I definitely heavily teach meditation. Everyone is praying and call God all these names and hack and spit and cough and think that's prayer. Come on. No.
Hey, Doc, let me say something. Let me jump in real quick on two things. We say we read, and a lot of people read, and the stuff be right in front of your face sometime, and we still just read over. Maybe we just don't understand some of the things. And I guess this is a question to you when teaching, and how your congregation, accepts some of the things that you're saying. That's always a question, because I've ran into pastors that said that they had to hold back some of the stuff that they wanted to talk to the congregation because they weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for it. So, and one of the examples that I use that tends to spook people when we talk about cosmos, or we talk about the firmaments and heavens and things of that nature. Now, we know all indigenous people that we know of, it was all that relationship was connected. The animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the cosmos. They say we are nothing but cosmic dust, and all the rest of that. But one of the scriptures in the Bible, when you talk about us, it made me think about when Vince Brent brought up astronomy. when you start talking about astronomy and astrology and things like that, we tend to get you shaky on that. Oh Lord, oh Lord, let's not be talking about that one. You know what I mean? Oh goodness. But right there in Genesis, Bishop, it says the firmaments in the heavens would be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. We got to understand, and you write on that memo right there, Vince. You said all connected. It's all connected, and so negating the firmaments for signs and see how it is relevant to the planet Earth and everything in it, you're going to miss the information. Our ancestors understood it. Don't you find it very interesting that all indigenous people on the planet interwove nature into their creation, their spirituality, and way of life? You see in the signs by the seasons change. Vince, we talk about, the solstices. We're talking about things of that nature. What's best for you to eat this time of the year? What's best for you to eat this time? All that is relevant. And if you don't have a deep-rooted understanding in nature and how nature performs, because we always say, at least I always say, you want to understand God, study nature. So back to that particular scripture, the firmaments in the heavens would be for signs and for seasons. We tend to negate that. Your thoughts on that?
Definitely. I know for a fact the study of astronomy and the study of astrology are not evil.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many come on, let's be honest. Religious people, anything they don't know, they fear anyway.
That's true.
Yes, he said, and let there be, I create a great light to rule the day and a lesser light to rule the night. And I created the stars also. And God said, and let them be for signs, seasons, days, and for years. Before a Jewish boy can be bar mitzvahed, he has to understand the basis of astrology, the basis of it.
Wow. Okay.
The 12 houses of the zodiac, they have to understand that before they can be considered a man. What about us?
Wow.
I thank God for parents that made me study that. Meditation is valued. There's no way to grow without meditation. I believe it's Psalm 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way or the practice of the sinner, nor seat in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in that doth he meditate day and night. Meditate, or as the word you find in the scriptures, Selah, which means pause, contemplate. We are to sit in stillness. Church and religion has taught us do all this praying, and then when you finish praying, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen, get up, then go on about your business, but never sat still long enough to give the spirit of intelligence the opportunity to talk back.
Wow.
So they don't get the answers. Yes, we are to still our mind. First thing, you got to learn how to focus. That's first thing in meditation, is teaching one how to focus. If you're not willing to focus, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. If you're not going to focus in meditation, you're not going to focus on anything else.
Wow.
So yeah, I teach now at the same time, United Temple is a very spirited place. I can't help it. I'm a musician. Do we use drums and what have you? Yes, we do. We as Black people, you hear a beat, you're going to respond to it one way or the other, whether it's in religion or not. It's a part of us. But I'm going to teach you the truth. I'm going to teach you to meditate. I'm going to teach you to focus your attention. Amen. Because what you think about is what you bring about. That's where I am with this thing. And to some preachers, you know, I'm considered, what would the word be? Slips my mind right now. So that's how much a heretic. They're quick to call me a heretic because I go beyond what they say religion is supposed to be.
I want to bring this up, and I'm really again enthused about the fact that you have the awareness that you do. Many of us, we adhere to Christian principles and the religion and so forth without the understanding that it was used as a tool for our enslavement, because we didn't have the proper understanding, you know.
So true.
And so when we were brought over here to this country, and not all of us started in Africa, you know, not all of us are descended from folks who were on the other side of the world, but many of us are. And when we came to this side of the world, we had spiritual practices. We had a relationship to some type of religion or spirituality. And that was something that was taken away from us because they took our language away from us. They discouraged us from doing the things that we did before. So I'm just wondering, and again, if I were to go to church, I would come to your church.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That, you know, there's going to be a certain, I guess, pushback from dogma and a push towards truth and knowledge. You know,
Yes.
We talk about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and we demonize the tree of knowledge, the tree of knowledge and good and evil, because that was one of the ways that they took us away from having that understanding. So I'm just curious how you navigate knowing what you know. And you said folks characterize you as a heretic, but the fact of the matter is you're giving the people what they're not getting in the other places.
Yes,
So,
sir.
you know, that's just, I can't be more effusive. I'm just so impressed that you know what you know, you say what you say, and you dispense the knowledge and the wisdom that you do. So how is that for you that you can stand out among those who are bringing the word of God?
One of the differences is that I understand what they're saying from their perspective.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I understand what they're trying to explain, but don't know how to explain. I understand, especially when it comes to enslavement and our foreparents, when it came to accepting this doctrine that was given to them. Everyone did not accept it as our Caucasian brothers tried to make us take it. For instance, when they would bow to Mary, those that tried to teach them Catholicism, when they would come before Mary, white flowers, everything around white, they that understood their religion from home, to make themselves appear as if they were accepting that teaching. Their Catholics were talking about Mary, but they were talking about the white cloth. They were talking about Zalad.
Mm.
When they would go to a statue of Martha, Martha's colors were blue and white. So when they would ritual at the statue there of Martha, it appeared they were accepting the Catholic dogma. When they were dealing with Yemaya, whose colors was blue and white, the same colors.
I see.
No matter what they tried to put in them, we thank God there was some that held to their original religion and did not bend. And that's why some of us have those knowledges today.
Yes.
They demonstrated intelligence. They were knowledgeable. They did what they had
To do at the time.
to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they are to be commended. Now, even there at my church and what I teach, for instance, I want to quickly say this. Many people I find that have come into their understanding of the African diaspora will often look down on some of the others that are still in the Jesus consciousness. Why are you saying Jesus? Or why are you doing this? No, you need to be over here. You need to be learning this. You need to wear what we wear. You need to, come on. That's starting the same thing all over again. If a person is of the Jesus consciousness, my job is to accept you in at your level of awareness, love you, and begin to aid you in expanding your level of consciousness, your level of awareness. Younger people have access to books, computers, and what have you. Grandma, that may still be around, Jesus was all she knew. We cannot throw them away and call them ignorant because that's all they knew. We love them in. This is why at the tabernacle, I don't have a problem with people saying Jesus. I don't have a problem with it. But I'm going to give you the truth. And at the same time, I'm going to sing songs of light that talks about the goodness of God in you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess that's the point then, Bishop, huh? I guess that's what the rubber meets the road is right there, what you just said, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With love and kindness. Jesus said it this way, with love and kindness have I drawn thee. Person will never get our message if we don't draw them.
And what I'm jump in for 1 second, Bishop. I'm just gonna say, pray for me, Bishop. I'm saying pray for me because I have to learn to work with working with them on that particular level, and I'm so into trying to teach the history and things of that nature, and I have gotten frustrated with folks in reference to that. I said, come on, man, even no letter J. Come on, man, can't you see that? Don't you know it? And now I may get a little frustrated with that. You know what I mean? So that's why I said just pray for me in reference to being more patient with that.
We have to be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give. I mean, think of where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had patience with us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's hard to get people to understand. No, there was no letter J in the Hebrew language. If you want to stay stuck on only what the Bible say, even the city, they're saying in the New Jerusalem. No, Jerusalem, Haru, city of peace, Salem, without no J. They're saying Jesus there into, but what? No J, it was Yeshua. Same as Joshua. Same thing. People that, we got to accept people where they are in consciousness and lead them into truth. And as we lead them into truth, they will become free from traditions, customs, and man-made laws.
Well, it's interesting when we talk about the return of Christ, and that's a common archetype within Christianity. It's like people are standing on the ground, looking up at the sky, waiting for, blonde hair, blue eyes, and angelic
apart.
and that's not what it is. When we talk about the return of Christ, we're talking about a return of consciousness.
Absolutely.
And we see that consciousness exemplified in so many people who understand what you understand and share that knowledge and that information and that wisdom with others. So, there's just some reprogramming that has to happen because we've been programmed in so many different ways. It's just like, the concept of heaven and hell. You can't tell me that the people in California who were standing watching their houses burn to the ground didn't think that they were in hell.
Well, I teach this. If you're broke, busted, unhappy, hungry, about to be evicted, have no one by your side, not even a friend to pray for you, just absolutely everything going wrong in your life, you're in living hell.
Right.
And you will remain in that same condition until you come out of that hell consciousness. You're gonna stay right there. A lot of people jumping and shouting in churches, they're in hell. Hell at home. Hell in themselves. Just negative. No. All is mine. All is mine. And I believe it was it was Hermes Trismegistus.
Come on now.
The great of the great said these words in one of his Hermetic axioms. When the pupil is ready, then doth the teacher appear. As long as a person is not ready to advance in consciousness, the teacher of truth will not appear in their life or on the screen or stage of their life. But when they're ready for change, when they're ready for something more, that's when the teacher appears.
That's right.
Bishop, you talked about how your relationship with music was able to open doors for you. You could get into churches that you wouldn't normally get into. Can you talk about the importance of music in the ministry? And I'm saying this, thinking about your son, and he was just musicianship. That brother was way up there, man. I mean, if you were operating at 1/10 of where he was, that was just an amazing person. Is an amazing person. I'm not going to put him in the past tense. But can you talk about the role of music in raising consciousness and shaping the way we're able to perceive the divine?
First, let me say this from a more spiritual and scientific perspective first. And this is something that my mother taught us. My grandmother and my grandfather, they were musicians. My mom and my dad were musicians. Of my 4 siblings, went into music, and I passed it on to all 3 of my children. It was a law. You had to play something. If you were going to eat my bread, absorb my heat, drink my water, I pay for. You were
Okay.
music, the tones of the scale, each tone resonates on an actual disc in your spine. This is why music can make one happy, can make one sad, can make one hyped, can soothe one. It depends on the key you're in, how you're playing, and what style you're playing. It was David. Nothing was able to solve, settle King Saul. Nothing but David with the harp. That was the only thing that was able to steal King Saul. Music is vital. It is understood today that even there at the Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital, they're in the understanding that certain musics can aid the person in their healing process. So it is in the church. So it is in life. I don't care where you go on this entire globe or whatever the culture may be, you're going to find some style of music. And to try to live your life with absolutely no connection with any form of music, you're trying to exist without one of the demonstrations of God. Music is vital. Music is vital. And I hammered this with my son. Music is vital, but it is to be done skillfully. God gives us the gift, we that are musicians, God gave us the gift of music, to hear it, to understand it, to dextrate. But then it is our individual responsibility to learn everything we can about music, why I do what I do, what tones match, what doesn't match, what is the difference between a major scale and a minor scale. In the church, we've got to especially understand, or in any religious setting, we got to understand what kind of music invokes what kind of presence.
Come on now. Now you come on. Yes.
What are we focusing on today, or what direction is the Spirit moving in for this day? Yeah, if the Spirit is moving us in a direction dealing with peace or the spirit of peace, then the music needs to accent that. You trying to sit up there and sing about a cross when God's trying to get a message across of peace. And this is why it's important to have people, be it in your religious circle or what have you, that know what they're doing when they're playing and when they're teaching music, because whatever they're doing is going to come out of their spirit.
Good point.
And what comes out of your spirit is what will be projected upon the people that are in front of you.
Good point.
So if you're off, you're going to emanate a totally off spirit to those that are listening.
Wow. That's you know, when you say that, Pastor, you bring me back to my drum teacher. That was one of my African drum teachers used to say that. He said, well, every time you sit down in front of this drum, your spirit must be clean. You know, you can't sit down there with no jealous, no envy, none of that stuff while you playing this drum. You know, and that's why you would watch him play, and he'd be smiling from ear to ear, and you just feel that energy, and he just be going up, and he just it was just a wonderful thing. And what you're talking right now, Pastor Bishop, is science. It's science, and from what you just relayed to, you just can't have anybody just jumping up there and just putting out music like that, because you don't know what kind of energy that is being. See, let's break it on down. Basically, what you're saying, that's with anything that you're doing, anything you say, it's all about energy. Why you think you sit up here and you pray before you eat some food? You want to make sure that's the right energy on that food before you digest it and put it in your temple. It's all because somebody's energy went to preparing that food. They put that energy into that particular food that you're about to eat right now. And you want to make sure that energy is right before you digest it and put it in your temple. So I'm saying
I'm glad you said the word energy. God has been portrayed as if he's a man sitting on a throne with eyes, nose, mouth, ears, all of this. Just like the people that are waiting for Jesus to come stepping through the clouds, they're in for a rude awakening. Got a long wait. People must understand that God is energy. Nothing but energy. Creative energy that can be molded into anything. Now it's up to the mind of the individual how you mold that energy or how you use that energy. And that energy is totally neutral.
Yes.
That's what God is. Energy. Cause, source, the power source, the reason behind everything is this unseen energy.
Yes. Well, but Bishop, question. I got to throw this in real quick. It's just see how you guys work with it at your church. Fasting.
All right. Glad you said that. We are in the midst now there at the Tabernacle of the 30-day fast that we do every year at the beginning of the new year. And our fasting period is for one purpose, for the God presence of God, or for the unevolved, that the Lord through Jesus Christ would give each of us individually perfect direction for the year. That the fast is nothing more than a reminder for us. Fasting is bringing the flesh under subjection.
Okay.
If a person is not working on themselves, you ain't doing nothing but a little diet. But for instance, our first week of fasting is the week that we remove anything sweet. Any and everything that is sweet. We remove that from our diet. We remove that from what we drink to remind us, I'm willing to deny myself of the sweet things of life that I may hear from him. The second week of our fasting period, we pulled red meat of all kinds out of our diet. That, Lord, I don't want to pleasure my body. I need to hear directly from you. I don't want to hear through no prophet. I don't want to hear through no weekly prognosticator. You live in me so you can communicate with me. The third week of the fast, we remove anything that had a mother or eyes. That's the removal of poultry, the removal of sea life, the byproducts of that. By that time, we're on a vegetable diet totally. And the last week of the fast is our week of silence. Television off, radio's off, social media. If one has to work, you have to speak at work. Let your words be few and seasoned with grace. But that's the week that we practice silence. We can hear from God if we learn how to shut up.
Absolutely.
We can hear from God if we stop. Just stop talking. It gets me. You walk through, say you walk through a mall or somewhere, everybody's on the phone. Everybody's just talking away. And my God, I'm like, okay, Father, who is listening? Nobody's listening while everybody's talking. So that part is the hardest part of the fasting style that we use at the tabernacle. But the benefits of that month of fasting has changed your habit. And you're far more open and receptive for direction and for newness. Also, I could tell with all my years of experience, over 40 years of preaching, anyone that goes on that type of fast, it does not throw your body metabolism off. And there will be a physical difference in you. Your countenance will be risen. Your aura will be brighter. There's no way you can go through that and not be a peaceful person when you come out of a week of silence. So fasting is something I think and believe everyone periodically needs to do.
Yeah, that was some of the problems I had with some of the church. If that's your spiritual connection, your personal spiritual connection with the Creator, it should be emphasized, more than I think that a lot of churches do,
Well, and just to add to the benefit of fasting, and you kind of framed it in terms of depriving, you're giving up sweets, so you're denying yourself that pleasure or the red meat that you get the pleasure from. But the fast also serves as a way to fortify your body, to give it an opportunity to repair. So you go through that 30-day period and you've taken those things out. You've also strengthened yourself. And you have also, when you get to a certain level of fasting, you have given yourself an opportunity to elevate your consciousness because you're not bound by things that are tied to the earth. So when you go into that fast, it's a good idea sometimes to just do what you can to cleanse your bowels, to take everything in you that's toxic, that's waste, takes that out, and then you have a more pure vessel to allow that spirit to enter you and to elevate your consciousness. So there's a beautiful thing that happens in fasting called autophagy. And autophagy is the repair of the cells on a cellular level. Every cell is getting rid of the waste, it's building itself up, and it's making you a better person. So they're so tuned into this idea that we got to eat 3 times a day, that we got to drink all this stuff, but I don't know. Was it Jesus that fasted for 40 days and 40 nights?
Yes, it was.
And so this is what I share with my brothers and sisters that I'm extolling the virtues of fasting to or with. I'm saying, well, Jesus did it. And if Jesus said you can do greater things than I did, then why can't you do it? Jesus lives within you. Allow Jesus to give you the power to say, no, I'm not going to eat that Mitchell's ice cream today. No, I'm not going to defile my body with those things. I'm going to take a break from those things because I know that the power that was within him is the power that is within me.
And let me say one more thing to that, because for what you just said, Vince, is even more critical based on and knowing that how this guy is putting so much toxins in the system right there. So your body needs that even more so now, because everywhere you look in your house, in the air and everything else, you're full of toxins. So giving your body a chance to get rid of all of that. So giving it a little time to do what it do best.
Now on Fat Tuesday, beginning in February, within Catholicism everywhere, they go into the Lent season, where I'm giving up this for the Lent, I'm giving for that, and my God, you got a lot of Black folk are going to follow that same thing. But when I'm asked by people, Bishop, what are you going to give up for Lent? I tell them ignorance. That's the one thing I'm going to always try to give up during that Lent, especially during the Lent period, because it makes no sense for you to say, I'm going to give up smoking cigarettes, or I'm going to give up smoking marijuana for Lent. If you can give that up for 40 days, you can give it up the rest of your life. Any of those negative things that we do to ourselves voluntarily, if you gonna give it up for 40 days, you can give it up the rest of your life.
You can give up that pork chop for the rest of your life too.
Say that, pig feet, ham knuckles, and wonder why your blood pressure is sky high. You know, you did that to yourself.
Yeah, and that's the point I was making when we get up there and talk about Sister Johnson left here and God decided to take her home. No, Sister Johnson did that to herself.
Absolutely. I never saw a heart.
Come on now, you gonna say what I said?
I never saw God give a person a heart attack. I see people that attack their heart.
Oh, yes.
We attack that heart.
And when you cut them open, those blockages and things of that nature, that you know where that's from.
It's what we do.
From no fruits and vegetables, that's for sure.
God placed in us such a wonderful intelligence, and he placed it within our blood, that if so happen you cut yourself, it'll bleed a moment, then the blood begins to coagulate, and then that same blood begins the mending process to mend the wound, to heal the body. That same blood services every organ in our body. So we have the ability to tap into the healing presence because it's already in us.
Okay, see your point.
It's in the very blood that goes through our body. And we have to harmonize with that by any means necessary.
So would you agree that meditation helps with that?
Absolutely. I teach every cell in our body has ears. Every cell hears. The body has been given to you for this particular incarnation that you are in right now. That body was given to you. And it's up to you to give directions to any and everything that's in your body, in your life, in your affairs. It's your life. And meditation, we can meditate upon the very cells of our body. Yes, it can be done. The question is, how bad do you want it?
Bishop Jones, I have to testify right now. I'm going to testify because I went through one of the most horrific ordeals that I could possibly face in life, and that was the prospect of death because of pneumonia.
Yes, sir.
I fasted for 21 days on nothing but liquids. And then for a week following that, I fasted with fruits. So I did 28 days, essentially. But what I discovered during that process was also talking to my body.
Yes, sir.
Talking to every cell. So every day, I command the cells in my body to remove the waste and the toxins to build and eliminate unnecessary things. This is a conversation that I have with myself, and I pray. I speak these words out loud, but I also have those words in my mind and my thoughts as I meditate.
Yeah.
And I can tell you honestly that it has been extremely powerful. I left the hospital at 124 pounds. And when I stood on the scale yesterday, it said 162. I've done this within 90 days. So the fasting is powerful. The meditation is powerful. The prayer is powerful. All the things that you mentioned. And I just can't help but think that it would be a beautiful thing and a powerful thing if you had company. If you had other pastors and other preachers that were bringing what you are bringing to the people, because the truth of the matter is the pastors, the preachers, they are some of the most influential people in our community. And if you can stand in that pulpit and let them folks know that, hey, that bacon may not be the best thing for you. You know, if you can give them some insight on the things that they can do to improve the quality of their lives, you know, that's when being that intermediary is so important. But we have so many intermediaries that aren't bringing the people the truth, and we suffer because of that. You know, and I hear you saying, you know, some people are characterizing you as a heretic, but the truth of that is, well, we need more heretics if they're going to bring what you bring.
This is why those things they say don't bother me, as I've told many that have tried to come at me that way. I said, when you can fill your church up like mine is, then we'll have that conversation again. You know, that's what I tell them. Evidently, I'm saying something that the people are gaining from because they keep the church filled. But do let me say this to you on more of a deeper spiritual level, as you were talking just a second ago. When I look at the lungs metaphysically, I look at my ability to accept. My ability to accept. So in your own mind, and I'm not telling you to do this right now, but on your own, maybe this evening or tomorrow, sit down and think, and I want you to go backwards about 7 days, or I'll just say this, it's within the past 7 weeks before you wound up with this pneumonia. Go back to something that kind of took your breath away. Go back. What went on that took my breath away? What challenge or what news did I get that took my breath away? What is it that have transpired that really I didn't want to mentally accept? prior to me going into this issue with the lung. For something to manifest in the body, it must have happened
in the spiritual realm, unseen
in the
realm.
spirit.
Yes.
And if we can go back and see, okay, what was going on? For instance, I was dealing with a woman a few weeks ago that all out of nowhere developed an issue with her eyes, with her sight. And I asked her, what is it that you don't want to look at? I don't know. Yeah, it's something you're not looking at. And she was able to identify that thing that she really don't want to see, don't really want to look at. And I told her, when you hit it head up, then your body will fall into place. Ear issue is something I'm not willing to hear. I don't want to hear it. All the way down the body, the area where we find disorder is the area of life we need to look at. And quickly, we can get our total deliverance. Okay.
Well, Bishop, I can reflect and try to come to that conclusion. And as I sit here right now, I can't think possibly of what that might be. But I think for me, the really overarching issue is the reset that took place. Because for me, it was a resurrection. It was like me being born again. That's the way I see it. So when I put it in that context, I'm thankful for the experience. I don't beat myself up because I happened, and I don't really go too far into why it happened, other than the fact that it was a catalyst for change. It was that Phoenix rising moment for me. So it's like now it's Vince 2.0, because I have a new lease on life. I have a new dedication to the mission that has been appointed to me by the ancestors, by the Creator. So it's really something that allowed me to recommit myself to my purpose and my mission.
Yes, sir.
That makes any sense.
That makes great sense.
Yeah, sometimes you know, it might have been a way of the Creator causing you to be still.
Oh, absolutely.
You might have been doing too many things and causing you to be still so you can sit still. Okay, now, I keep telling them you need to be doing this, doing it. Okay, guess what? I'm gonna sit you behind down for a minute.
Yeah, but brother Lynn, that's exactly the way I saw it. It was like, okay, now it's time to pause. Now it's time to recalibrate, you know, and come back bigger and better. And that's what's happened. So I wanted to give that testimony just in case people doubt the power of that. The power of the fast. 21 days repaired my body. Some of the aches and pains that I had before, gone. I don't have them anymore. You know, my lungs are in better shape now because I gave my lungs a break. You know, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, 15 days, endured 2 surgeries. I had a doctor telling me that you got 3 months to live, you know, going through all of that. But it's all behind me because those three months have gone by. And I feel
absolutely wonderful.
So just for the folks who are listening, if you doubt the power of prayer, if you doubt the power of meditation, if you doubt the power of fasting, embrace it. You know, embrace it, run to it. Don't run away from it, run to it. And I promise you it will change your life.
Two things in reference to that, because we're having a lot of problems with our youth these days, you know, because they eating all this garbage. They getting garbage from everywhere, from visual garbage, you know, from listening, hearing garbage, and taking in garbage. So that's all kind of garbage. But parents, be parents. And what I'm saying, that you are the one, especially some younger ones, let's say 7 to 12, while you still got the kid's ear. You are the ones that's supplying everything for them. You are the ones that are teaching them and showing them, at this particular point, because you're still in charge. You are in charge. So what I'm trying to say is take the time to show them and teach them how to be still. How to be still. When Pastor was talking about that focusedness, and you was talking about the meditation and that is ever so important for our kids to learn how to be still as well. It ain't always about running around. I wanted to start a little summer school and a summer camp for kids at one time, and not always basketball, running and jumping around. Teach them maybe some that gives them some discipline, some martial arts or some meditation. Teach them the parts of the body that they need to know of that get optimum function from. Where they sit on the body, what it takes for them to operate properly. Sit your kids down and do that. And here's something, Pastor, I know you both can deal with. While they're pregnant, so much can go on to the elevation of that kid while they're pregnant. See, we knew those particular things while in our culture back in the day, and knowing that the baby is taking on all this energy that is around, that is coming through the mother, through you. Last point, and Pastor, we ain't gonna hold you too much long.
No problem at all.
Yeah. Last point about, like I said, the epigenetics and things like that. All of that is connected, and it comes through you and give. It was a scientific experiment where they put the mice in a cage, and lined the entrance or exit with electrical shocking device. And so after a while, the mice was no longer going to the trying to get out and get shocked. So those mice had babies. Okay, so they had babies, and they took those babies and put them in the same type of situation with the electrical shocking wire at the entrance or exit. Guess what? None of those mice went towards that device that shocked them. None of them. They experienced the trauma through their mama, and it was passed on, and they knew. This is the wonderfulness of God. They knew not to travel that way. So I'm saying all this is sacred. All this unseen stuff and everything that is surrounded is sacred. We around here in this society, through a European worldview, a European version of things, we don't know nature. We don't understand that's the sacredness of that. Matter of fact, we don't even understand the sacredness of women these days. Struggling to be in the pulpit, or like God don't ever talk to them. Mary ain't got a story. She's supposed to be impregnated with the Spirit. Don't you think she got something to say? So I'm saying all those things that we need to learn and know about. So take the time, mothers, and teach your kids how to be still and turn those electronics off.
Okay.
I do agree. I would say the issue that I find, our young people are a blessing. Our children are a blessing. And as you said, they have no choice but to act out and live out what they have learned. What they've learned. It's our women that are already mothers, which has to come to an aha moment. Many of the young men that are fathers now, they had no one to take them out to go fishing. They had no one to take them out into the woods and show them, this is a maple tree, this is a silver maple, this is a cypress. No one to show them, this is a sassafras plant. Hey, the red sassafras can make a tea to help you, and the white sassafras is poison. It could kill you. They had no one to take the time with them to teach that. At our church during the summer, we do meditations there in Forest Hills Park. I take the young men and the girls, we take them in the woods. I have a very vast knowledge of herbs, herbal knowledge of trees, horticulture. I take them to those places. I take them to the Rockefeller Park greenhouse and teach them about the different plants and show them what live ginger is that's in there. We often take them out of the city to do things that they never had a chance to do in their home life. And there is a different respect that they gain for you as the one teaching and training. Even the ones that seem like the worst guys in the world. They can't wait until my second week in May fishing trip that lasts a week, where I rent all of the cabins at Erie Island Resort and take all of them out there. They don't have to pay for a thing, but they learn how to fish. They look forward to that, and that gives me opportunity to talk with them about the various issues in their life that they're dealing with. We think all young people are disrespectful. The majority of them are not. But they have a belief of, if you're going to come 100. They can tell if you're phony, if you're real. They can tell if you're really trying to love them or if you're not. And if we as adults could begin to take some time with the younger, get them in the right position, just as Jesus had to get the woman at the well into a position to receive. You got to get them in a position to receive at their level of understanding. And you can bring about a lot of change. We thank God a lot of people, a lot of young people change their lives at our ministry, because I'm not trying to stuff the Bible down in their throat. I'm trying to stick life down in their throat to get them to see life another way.
I think,
and that's how the change can.
Yeah, I think in what you're doing, Bishop, you are bringing those young people closer to God, because you're bringing them closer to nature, and God and nature are the same thing. You know, we spend so much time on electronic devices and distracted and everything that we don't take the time to look out the window and witness the beauty of the trees and the animals that live in our midst and our connection to all of those things, because it's who we are. So, man, I would love to be a fly on the wall just to witness what's going on, because you're so right. You know, we tend to demonize our young people and characterize all of them as being disrespectful, and basically they just want to be loved.
That's all they want.
And the way that you show them that you love them is you give them attention. You talk to them, you have conversations with them, you have a genuine interest in what's going on in their mind, and you put yourself in a position to dispense wisdom, but also to allow them to live life and to learn life. They learn about life watching you.
What did we do in the past, Vince? What did we do in the past? You had people of your status and the pastor and everybody. What did they do? They took out time, went in the woods and the bush, and brought all them young folks in, and they had the pleasure of getting knowledge from a whole group of men. You know what I'm saying? Teaching them and showing them something. So just imagine the lack of that now. Right. What what you're going to get,
Well, I don't want to open up a wound, but we got Camp Mueller that disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had rites of passage, and
Yeah.
basically what Bishop is talking about is rites of passage. It's just in a different form. You know, you talked about the bar mitzvah earlier, and the young Jewish boys having to know certain things about astrology. These are the things that are missing because we don't have the community connection in the village that we need to have so that we can get folks from one place to another. The young man has to understand what his responsibility in life is. He's got to understand the sacred aspect of the woman or the girl that he's been chasing so that he doesn't take her for granted, doesn't leave her with a child that he's going to walk away from because he has no understanding about what his responsibilities are. These are the things that we have to do. And again, I'm thankful that there are folks like Bishop that can give folks that understanding as they grow and mature and move on to the next place in life. I think this would be a good place to wrap things up. But Bishop, want to give you another opportunity to let folks know about United Temple Tabernacle. Tell us when the services are and some of the things that you're doing at the church so that they know what the possibilities are.
Well, you are welcome to come to 14284 Superior Road in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. We are one block south of the Walgreens at the corner of Superior and Hampshire. You're welcome to come. We have our Sunday School of Development, which begins at 11 a.m., from 11 a.m. to 11:45. And then we break, and at 12 noon every Sunday is our Sunday morning work, our Sunday noon worship experience. Also, every Wednesday night, 6:30 begins our usually our community meal. 7 o'clock begins our spiritual development class. You're welcome to come out to the temple. All is welcome. And when I say all, I mean all. Man, woman, whether you figured out you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter who you are. You are welcome at the tabernacle, and you will find it appears to be such a wonderful religious setting, but once you begin to worship, you'll see we're all about love, we're all about truth, and depending on what I'm talking about, I may not be so politically correct the way I say it to make sure I get the message across to you. But if you come, we have a saying at United Temple, we dare you to come 3 times. Usually by the 3rd time you get stuck and you stick around there at the temple.
There's
God
your
bless
challenge, Brother Antonio. 3 times and you're going to be there every Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like I say, hey, you know, if I was gonna go anywhere, that looked like that's the place that I'm going to go. I would go. That's for sure.
Yes.
You know,
Well, we'll give you the truth, and we don't stay in there all day. We're there, but at 12, you're gone home no later than 1:30. You're on your way out the door, and it's a family. We fellowship, we love, we break bread together. We have time for everyone, and everyone is somebody.
It's Pastor. I know I've tasted some of your cooking. I see you like to get in that kitchen as well. I taste a little bit of that kitchen, bro. And we also got to let them know too. You should see the organ and the pipes that is in the church, man. It's an older style church, but they put a serious organ system in there.
I'm really struggling to bring up that location. I used to live at 14444 Superior, which is literally down the street. So next time I ride up Superior, I'll look out for that church. And you never know, one of these Sundays, Vince gonna walk up in here and witness what's happening. But I want to thank you for being with us today. Also, just to let folks know who may have been listening during the first hour, the meditation workshop is going to be at Larchmere Arts next Saturday, the 24th, from 4 to 7 p.m. 4 to 7, 127, 26 Larchmere Boulevard. Bishop, we have Am Tahuti Kamo. He is the chief priest of Asara Set Society International of the Philadelphia HESP. And we're going to be bringing him in, and we're also talking about doing a broadcast with Ra'un Nefer Amen. So these are things that are coming down the pike, but definitely just want to let everybody know about the workshop. Hopefully we'll be able to see you there, and come and learn what meditation is all about. Powerful tools, all connected to the solstice, all connected to ancient traditions, all intended to help us to remember who we are.
Yes.
So important. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Anything for the good of the cause, Brother Antonio?
No, just great show. I appreciate you, Bishop, for coming on and giving us some information important and letting us know what you're doing at this church, because I'm sure there's other people and pastors out there like you, but we need to identify those ones who are actually teaching the real stuff, the good stuff that we need to know, because we need to look at this and see, okay, this is not quite working for us. So maybe we might need to do and look at something else, but you keep beating your head on the wall, and we got 150,000 churches, and you fragmenting all your power. And so I would say, get the oldest, go back to your roots, go back to the Sankofa. What was we doing prior to this hodgepodge of misdirection that we are getting right now? So I love it and enjoy it.
Okay, and I'll say this: I'm going to mention this church to somebody that I know at the Cleveland Restoration Society, and who knows, maybe someday in the future we'll have a marker up in front of your church.
Thank you so much. We do have, it is listed as a historical building. We do have that mounted right on the wall. It is a national landmark.
And that's one of the criteria for getting that designation for a marker. So I'll just pass it on to the person that I know, let it fall where it falls, and we'll see where it goes. But it's really good for us to know the historical implications of that church, and it'll give us a greater appreciation for it when we walk through those doors, knowing that the spirit of our ancestors is there, and it was part of a liberation movement, because we have liberation theology and ain't nobody free. So so anyway, again, thanks for joining us. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your absolute best day. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.